or traveling overseas to find work. The most severe economic effects usually occur when the bursting of a bubble reduces the value of collateral backing bank loans. This, coupled with the inability of bubble investors to repay loans, can result in a banking crisis. The collapse in house prices after 2007 was followed by the global financial crisis, and we witnessed the downfall of American, British, Irish, and other European banks. This resulted in major, long-lasting damage to the economy. Financial crises are astonishingly economically destructive. Estimates of the losses in economic output for post-1970 banking crises range from 15 to 25% of annual GDP. These estimates, however, conceal the large costs that financial crises have on psychological and human well-being. They also ignore the human costs associated with the imposition of austerity measures once the crisis is over. We both experienced and witnessed cuts in real pay, decreased levels of public service provision, and cuts in welfare payments to family members. Not all bubbles, however, are as economically destructive as the housing bubble of the 2000s, and some may even have positive social consequences. There are at least 3 ways in which bubbles can be useful. First, the bubble may facilitate innovation and encourage more people to become entrepreneurs, which ultimately feeds into future economic growth. Second, the new technology developed by bubble companies may help stimulate future innovations, and bubble companies may themselves use the technology developed during the bubble to move into a different industry. Third, bubbles may provide capital for technological projects that would not be financed to the same extent in a fully efficient financial market. Many historical bubbles have been associated with transformative technologies, such as railways, bicycles, automobiles, fiber optics, and the Internet. William Janeway, who was a highly successful venture capitalist during the dot-com bubble, argues that several economically beneficial technologies would not have been developed without the assistance of bubbles. Why do we refer to a boom and bust in asset prices as a bubble? The word bubble, in its present spelling, appears to have originated with William Shakespeare at the beginning of the 17th century, in the famous All the World's a Stage speech from his comedy As You Like It. He uses the word bubble as an adjective, meaning fragile, empty, or worthless, just like a soap bubble. Over the following century, bubble was widely used as a verb, meaning to deceive. The application of the term to financial markets began in 1719, with writers such as Daniel Defoe and Jonathan Swift, who viewed many of the new companies being incorporated as not only worthless and empty, but deceptive. The bubble metaphor stuck, but over time its use has become somewhat less pejorative. Nowadays, the word bubble is used by commentators and news media to describe any instance in which the price of an asset appears to be slightly too high. Among academic economists, however, using the word at all can be deeply controversial. One school of thought sees a bubble as a non-explanation of a financial phenomenon, a label applied only to episodes for which we have no better explanation. Eugene Fama, the father of modern empirical finance, goes further than this, calling the term treacherous and complaining that the word bubble drives me nuts. In Fama's view, the word bubble is devoid of meaning, having never been formally defined. In this book, we borrow the definition of Charles Kindleberger, the MIT economic historian and bubble scholar, who describes a bubble as an upward price movement over an extended range that then implodes. In other words, a bubble is a steep increase in the price of an asset, such as a share, over a period of time, followed by a steep decrease in its price. Others have suggested that for an episode to constitute a bubble, prices must have become disconnected from the fundamental value of the asset. However, this definition makes bubbles much more difficult to identify with any certainty, which can lead to lengthy discussions about whether a particular episode was